Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the initial lineup for Star, which is going to be coming to Disney Plus in February internationally. We'll be talking about Ricky Strauss leaving at Disney Plus. We'll be talking about the amazing show that is Marvel Studios Legends. We're going to be talking about that longer than that thing is. And whatever else there has been during the week, because it has been kind of a weird week, but nevertheless, let's jump into it. So let's start off with Star, because Disney kind of kicked off the year with the first kind of press release, especially over here in the UK, was kind of giving out details of the first few titles that are going to be part of Star, which is coming to Disney Plus in the UK, across Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and also Singapore on February the 23rd. So we got a little snazzy little trailer, which was a bit of an odd one because I'll get into that in a minute. But they also, as part of that trailer, we got a few things announced, including that we'll be getting 24 Lost, Desperate Housewives, How I Met Your Mother, Prison Break, The X-Files, Atlanta, Blackish, along with some of the Die Hard movies. I think they Die Hard 1 and 2, and then they also had Live Free and Die Hard, or whatever the last one was called.
I don't know. There's only 3 Die Hard movies.
Yes, we don't go past Vengeance. They also confirmed that Love Victor will be coming as a Star original. Big Sky, which is an ABC series, will also be a Star original. And on the Singapore trailer, it confirmed that Hellstrom is also a Star original, since it's not dated. It's basically any ABC or Fox or FX show that hasn't airing on a TV network over here is basically becoming a Star original. So kind of weird, really. It's like, even like this week alone, of like all this news coming out, it's like the scope of content coming internationally has just vastly changed in 1 week. So we've got those 3 shows are technically, they're going to be Disney Plus, exclusive for most of us. That's the only place you're going to be able to watch it. So that's all looking pretty good. The trailer kind of had a little bit of a mixed response, really, because a lot of people I don't think they did a very good job in explaining what Star was to some people. Or also, some of the picks were a little bit random. I think they went for movies and shows that everyone was like, well, is that what we're getting? Like, no, we're probably going to get like 400 or 500 like movies and but like just random things. I think they went with ones that are like available everywhere. They're going to be a bit rather than, and that's how they went for it. But quite a good kind of reaction, really. Once people kind of worked out. I mean, you had a bit of moaning a little bit about the price going up, but I think most people have kind of grasped that if the library's doubling, the price difference isn't too bad. But did you see all of this?
I didn't see the reactions, no. But I did see the trailer. I did see most of the announcements. I think the trailer, they were sticking not necessarily to stuff that would be available everywhere, but just stuff that would be recognizable. Because these are some of the big names that are going to be as part of the launch. I'm speaking from an American perspective, so that internationally, some of these might not be very well known, but How I Met Your Mother, that was a big show here. Lost 24, of course. Prison Break did really, really well. What was that?
Family Guy as well, because they showed it in the trailer but didn't include it in the press release. I don't know why, but
they didn't just show it in the trailer either. It's fairly prominent in the trailer too. It's not like a flash and you miss it kind of thing. No, it's got its own little section.
On the Singapore trailer, we got to see Deadpool as well. The thing is, in Singapore, they're not getting Love Victor by the looks of it, because of their laws about LGBTQ. So they're not getting it over there by the looks of it. But it did confirm that they're getting Deadpool. It was just really weird seeing the poster that they had up, or the artwork for Disney Plus, of having like the Mandalorian, Iron Man, and Deadpool. It just, with Star as like the 6th pillar, and it was like, okay, that's how it's going to roll. And it just, I think, having had the last 18 months of this kind of, especially this time last year when we were in Disney Plus baby mode, it's just quite a big difference from a year ago of like, where they go, everything's cancelled because it was too not family enough. And here we are in the UK a year later, like, oh, here's Deadpool and Family Guy.
I actually, the poster for it for me is Love Victor, because that was the one where it was going to be a Disney Plus show, and they're like, we don't want this on Disney Plus. Too controversial. Too raises too many questions. And now, like, hey, look, we've got Love Victor over here on Star. Don't you want to come and watch that? And it's just a complete 180 since a year ago, which I think is great. And I hope that we continue to see that also move into the American market. Obviously, there will be some international things. I don't think the Philippines will be alone in their LGBTQ.
I think it's Singapore.
Singapore. Yes,
haven't announced the Philippines yet, which is
right,
weird.
Sorry,
because they had Disney Life for years, and like they had it taken away, but they didn't have it come in. So I always thought that was a bit odd. I do think this is ultimately. I think if Star becomes successful and they see the data coming in, that is what that will help towards bringing this content into the US market as well. Ultimately, if they see it's working, then that's what you're going to see a big shift. But yeah, Disney Plus is about to go through this massive shift around the world, and it's a real shame that really Latin America and America, or the US, are not getting that kind of hope, because I imagine it's such a weird thing of how this has all worked out. But the thing of it being Star Originals, it was always a bit like, well, how is this thing with Star Originals going to work? With 35 a year, that's a lot. How that's all going to work? And then it's like, already we can see, oh, right. So basically anything that's just essentially an ABC or an FX or a Hulu original essentially becomes a Star original. The thing is, with some of them, it doesn't quite work, because if they've not got international distribution rights, because that's what's seeming to be happening a little bit with the Hulu stuff. Every time there's a Hulu thing, and that's like, right, who? Oh, they've just got the US rights, and you're just trying to work out what's going on. But things like Solar Opposites is coming back for its second season on Hulu in March, and they showed it off during Investors Day, and it's like, that's made by 20th Century Studios again. So Star Opposites looks like that will become a Star original. It's just strange, sort of, with all these ideas of what they're doing.
Well, the lingering contracts and the lingering distribution deals will be something we'll be talking about for years to come, honestly, although it will start to trickle off eventually. But
yeah, I mean, I think that is one thing that's going to happen probably with Star a bit. Of internationally, there might be even more splintering because of the rights for different countries, like here. But also, it was confirmed, I think it was the Variety, for example, here in the UK, Lost is on Amazon, but it will be shared, so it's going to be shared. So I wonder when sort of Disney made a load of the last deals, whether or not they weren't maybe exclusive to. So it was like, well, you can have it, but if we want to use it, we can use it as well. And that kind of, they've been, because a lot of stuff started getting sharing out. It's kind of weird, like with all these Hulu originals. There's one called The Great, which was it just started airing here on Channel 4, so I started recording it. But again, there's so many shows that aren't actually made by Disney, and I think you can see that shift with what Disney are doing themselves in terms of their company. Of you're going to start seeing that less and less. They'll be picking stuff up, but they didn't really get into too many announcements at the Investors Day about what's going to be happening with the Hulu lineup. But yeah, it's just all this content this week was just a little bit like, oh, okay, this is really kind of how they were going to promote it, and seeing it just branded as Star within it's. Or even like, how like even just writing out a news report, or like, well, how do I write this? Is it coming to Disney? Like, even it's such a weird. And I was like, I needed like Disney to sort of state how it was happening before you could kind of work out what was going on.
this is I don't want to say problem, but this is the reality of globalization.
Yeah.
You can't truly do everything everywhere, because local rules, local contracts, local etc. And now, of course, Disney made it even more complicated by having Star everywhere except America. And you get to figure that one out.
Yeah, so I will admit, on the website, on the channel, and on the YouTube channel and stuff, I am trying to be very kind of trying to be as open as I possibly can in the titles and in the descriptions at the beginning to state where if it's Disney Plus internationally, or Hulu, because ultimately now it's just vastly just changed all the content, the amount of content we're covering. It's just changed in about a week. Suddenly, like, oh yeah, these are all, and it's like even like what we were talking about. When I fire up, what we were watching on Disney Plus, I'm going to start, obviously talking about these shows, because to me they are in my Disney Plus app, like any other movie or show, and that's just, we've already been talking like Agents of Shield. I've been talking about that the last like 2 months. Well, you guys aren't getting it there. There is those different.
We're not getting it here, but it's already been done for a year. But yeah, it's not on Disney Plus yet.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'll be watching the later. I think we're up to like I think next week might be the finale. So of the last season. So I've been really enjoying that. It's been kind of nice having, like we said, the last like 2 months with The Right Stuff, The Mandalorian, and I've been watching Agents of Shield. So I've had like couple of different shows going on, and then obviously we got WandaVision starting next week, which they have confirmed is 9 episodes, and there was also, it's kind of like a weird one. They kind of, I don't know, there's some information went out for a press release, but it didn't go out to everybody, that there's gonna be 2 episodes dropping on Friday next week, which kind of, like, some people are going, oh, they've never done this before. It's like, well, no, they did it with The Right Stuff, just no one paid any attention except for us, because we like the show.
Didn't the first season of The Mandalorian had the first 2 episodes dropped as well, at least in America?
Yeah, I know, because you had one on the Tuesday and then you had the one on the Friday.
That's right.
So it was, so they're going to drop 2, but then I think they're only going to be like 30-minute episodes to begin with, because they're like classic TV sitcoms. Yeah. The first couple, I think Paul Bettany was saying about how eventually it does become a proper MCU show. It's just, it initially kind of does the going through the years, setting it up. So I think we might have a few short episodes and then like get a bit longer once they kind of get into like essentially the real world.
But we'll still have 8 weeks worth of it, which is going to keep us going for a while there.
Yeah, and then a week off, then we go into Falcon, as you can see with my new gear.
That's, with no disrespect intended to WandaVision, that's the one I'm really looking forward to.
It's Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then obviously that leads into Loki in May, and then we're going to lead into What If. That will then lead into Miss Marvel, which then leads into Hawkeye. So we've got a fantastic year of Marvel content coming up, plus all these other shows that are coming. We've got all the, then I'm going to be throwing in all the Star originals. Suddenly now it's, it is just like, okay, 2021, except for this week, where let's be honest, this had to be one of the weakest weeks for Disney Plus I have probably ever seen. I mean, for Disney Plus original, like the whole hype for like Marvel Studios Legends, I'm not sure. They're being very quiet about it. It's like, what's it going to be? And then I watched it, and then I'm like, okay, that was a very, very well made fan trailer. And it's very well made, very highly polished, very well edited. But it's like they didn't include a clip of them talking about the character. They didn't include, maybe an introduction, and I got to the end of it, and then having 2 episodes drop, I was like, to be honest, I kind of felt like with the Vision one, I was like, well, I've already seen all this in the one of it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, there was definitely the problem that since you're doing Wanda and Vision, a lot of their story arcs overlap. So doing an episode on Wanda and doing an episode on Vision, you're kind of be like, well, here's the stuff that they're both involved with. I didn't think it was bad. Fan trailer sounds pretty accurate, though. Well made fan trailer, but still a fan
very
trailer.
Well made. I'm not disputing how well it was made.
Yep. Now it's a decent refresher, though. A really quick 7-8 minute, actually a bit shorter once you cut out the titles and all that. But this is their story arc. These are the characters from the movies. Just quick reminder, so you don't have to go back and watch Age of Ultron and Infinity War and Civil War if you don't want to, because they are that is a decent time sync to go through. So just quick reminder, and then move on, and they will be completely forgotten about. I expect we'll get another one when Black Widow is coming closer to release.
Falcon and the
Winter Soldier, of course. Loki will probably get one when Loki pops in. And then for what if we could see a couple that might tie into that? Because what if, especially, you need to have that reminder of what the characters were in the MCU. So when they do something different, you can go, oh, right, that's right. That's why this is different.
I mean, we were saying this on the Facebook group. We're like, they're not going to be able to do this for Shang-Chi or for Miss Marvel or for Kate Bishop or for the Eternals because we've not established that. And I think as they are perfectly good ways of refreshing yourself before the series. But I just feel like the way of putting them out as a Disney Plus original, as the way it was a bit like this could have just been a trailer on YouTube. It was, I think there's a lot. I just saw a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and a lot of expectations a few days running up to this series, and I'm there watching them. I'm just going, oh, I think they're going to be so disappointed. And I mean, I had a feeling what this was going to be, but when I watched it, I was like, oh, people are going to be watching this and not necessarily annoyed, but I can see that people are going, really, that was all you're giving us?
It wouldn't be a problem if anything else was released this week.
Yeah.
Anything at all. But there wasn't. There was literally nothing.
I mean, the US, you did at least get like Disney Fam Jam, and then you got the Fernand movie, which I do want to watch.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Fernand is at least
I would want to see
nominated.
That's true.
That's an Oscar nominated movie, and so therefore, it's like that. And then like here in the UK, we got like Expedition Amelia, and obviously we got Shield, but then like Australia got that was it. It was literally Marvel Legends and the Clouds extra, and I was like, oh, that's literally you got two extras. That was all you got in Australia and New Zealand.
Flashbacks to last year, certainly.
I was a bit like, and it's like if you didn't have WandaVision coming up, you'd be like going, I probably would have been a bit more, but like, okay, you've been on a run the last 10, 12 weeks of some great stuff, but yeah, I did think that was a little bit weak. And overall, actually, I felt like with January, it's been very much along the lines of, right, we've got WandaVision, and that's all we're kind of doing. Because Popcorn, that's again feeling like a little bit of an afterthought. And this whole Clouds extra stuff is just like, really, you're dropping this stuff weekly. This is not. I don't know. It's very strange.
I will admit I have kind of appreciated though the calm. It's let me get caught up on some other stuff and not have to stress about watching things before the podcast. Stress is the wrong word. I don't get stressed watching Disney stuff unless it's like The Big Fib or something like that. In which case I just put it on in the background and absorb it through osmosis. But yeah, it has been a little bit nice. I got to finish up Star Trek Discovery, and honestly, that was a complete waste of time, which I would have been very offended if I had done that over some Disney shows. But the thing is, this is the last week that we should have like this, too, because with WandaVision starting next week, it is back-to-back Marvel for the rest of the year. I mean, there's the occasional 1 week or 2 week gap in there, but there should be things to fill those.
Well, this is the thing. If they've lined up a lot of stuff to be coming up, but ultimately right now, filming is again shut down in California, and the filming over here in London and stuff is starting to get shut down as well, because this is what we always said was always going to be the thing. We were always going to have this drought, pretty much from like now to Easter, where all the stuff that would have been filmed over the summer isn't available. So in some ways, WandaVision and Falcon will see us right through till May. So that's fantastic. I mean, that episode enough is probably, I think, enough to kind of keep most people happy. Or most, you'd be like, oh, we're getting something. But the lineup of new shows, the lineup of movies and stuff. I mean, we got Flora and Ulysses coming next month, but a lot of the stuff they announced is all seem to be lining up to come later. Much later down the line.
Yeah, well, the stuff at the investor call, which of course is what got most of the headlines over the last couple of weeks. But we shouldn't discount the stuff that's actually coming. Just because like the stuff we're super excited for is mostly coming down the road, mostly the stuff with the Star Wars attached to it, doesn't mean there's non-Marvel interesting things coming down the road this year.
There's a number of shows that they've announced in the past. There was like a Wolfgang Puck documentary. There was a Mickey Mouse documentary. There's Ink and Paint. there's a few other like things that they announced like a year or two ago that hopefully we will see in the coming months. Some of the National Geographic content as well. I'm hoping we get a few little sprinkles of because they're going to have to do that. They are going to have to sprinkle in. They can't rely 100% on Marvel, but yeah, just really looking forward to it. It's just nice to have a lot of content to be looking forward to. Like I said, this week, and actually, I've just watched a few movies because we've got a few episodes of our movie club coming up this weekend for everyone. We've got the Avengers Age of Ultron that me and James did, and then in the next few weeks I spoke with Jeremy, who does reviews on the website, and we've got episodes going up for what did we do? We did I've gone completely. We did Coco, we did the Wolverine, and we also did Ralph Breaks the Internet. So they're all available now to patrons and YouTube channel members, and also we've also got some more coming up in the future. So there's all kind of some extra little episodes coming up, but they're released weekly for everybody else. Let's also talk now a bit about some of the information as well, some of the stuff that's been going on backstage, because the president of original programming and content creation, Ricky Strauss, is going to be leaving at Disney Plus. He's been very impactful in launching Disney Plus, and he's been there for a while, but due to the kind of moving around of basically the restructuring, what that's meant is we've kind of it's just his job kind of, by the sounds of it, is just gone. Did you see this?
I read the article, and I read the press release, which is standard press release. I believe it at face value, but we're obviously not getting 100% of the story. That said, a lot of what we have been talking about the last several weeks are things that probably were put in motion by Mr. Strauss. So hopefully his successor follows a similar vision, follows a similar ideology, and is able to make the deals to get these shows created.
Yeah, it's going to be it is just I would say kind of this thing of his run obviously was there to get Disney Plus launched, and at the time when they were launching it, Disney Plus was its own separate little thing, and they kind of, you come up with your shows and your movies and all the rest of it. But the TV and the movies people, they're still doing their thing. They've still got, they've still got to keep the motor running, and that's their thing. You go and start this new thing up for us. Whereas like then 2020 hit, and it's like, yeah, you see this stuff over here. Yeah, all of you guys are now doing that, and I think it did kind of get to the point of going, now everything is streamlining through Disney Plus. It kind of, the idea of there being, they basically went to the studios and everyone said, right, you need to make originals. Just you have to give us your best stuff. And I can see how, there is no need for them to go off and like have someone specifically make. I mean, there is still somebody going to be kind of making the content, coming up with the ideas and stuff, and maybe pitching it and dealing with all the rest of it. But now that Disney's kind of got rid of that whole them and us between the TV and the Disney Plus thing, you can see how that overlap is completely gone.
There will always need to be, if not one person, then at least a couple of people who act as the guiding hand of content creation, and they need to be able to say, okay, we've got a full slate of Marvel stuff. Star Wars is looking good, maybe not this year, but next year we've got a lot of. So where do we need to fill in the gaps? We need some more Mickey Mouse. We need some more Donald Duck. We need some other originals. And this was what he did. Sorry, that sounded like a question. It's a statement. This is what he did. He took all these different properties and made sure that there was something for everybody. I'm having a hard time talking tonight. I don't know why.
I think as a whole, we've seen this whole thing of the whole kind of major, or if you look back at like the Investors Day of 2019,
I've infected you apparently.
You passed it across. It comes through digitally. So all of the big names that we saw, Angus Juice, Ricky Strauss, Kevin Mayer, as of the end of this month, they've all gone. They've all been replaced. And a lot of it seems to be the fact of their roles kind of evaporated because of how Disney have completely streamlined everything and going, it's all going through Disney Plus. And whether or not we're seeing the bumps at the minute, but the amount of content that they've lined up, the teams have all been readjusted, and the way that the TV studios have all been readjusted and all the rest of it. It sounds to me a lot like on the lines of like, we do not, now that we're confident in this thing, we don't need a separate division.
Yeah, no, there's not much else to add on to that. I would expect that we'll continue to see streamlining and bringing people under not necessarily one roof, but at least under the guidance of one roof. So movies will still be overdoing their thing. Regular television show will be doing their thing until television's no longer relevant. But there will be this one person or this one team of people going, all right, these are your toys, you play with those. These are your toys, you play with those.
I mean, I'm still waiting on, I don't know when it's going to happen, because I know it's going to happen at some point this year, where they are going to switch up what they're doing with National Geographic and Disney Channel of stuff becoming available on the same day or the day after. You've got to think that that's going to be coming down the line at some point, because Hulu's already got it with ABC and FX. They've already got that in place, and it's just like, you can see how they might say it's going to debut on the Disney Channel, but at some point they're going to have to pull the trigger to kind of do it. And whether or not it's this year, eventually that will be kicking in. And I think they have to get that strategy right as well, because at the minute, shows are started on the Disney Channel and then they come to an end, and how they will roll out internationally and stuff. I think we will see it at some point to kind of completely streamline that level of the TV. And now, when the Disney Channel put out a press release, they also mentioned Disney Plus because it's coming to it, rather than at the minute they never do. That's been something we've been dealing with for like the last 2 years, but I think eventually that will slide away.
I kind of liken it to way back in the day. You would get trailers. You still see them on trailers now, but you would get trailers and be coming exclusively to movie theaters in blah blah time. And for a while there, that was true. If you didn't catch it was in the theaters, you might get lucky and catch it on TV 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah.
But after a while, you're like, oh, no, it's exclusively in theaters for now, but it'll be on VHS and then later DVD. And now it's more like it'll be in theaters for 3 months, and then you can get the Blu-ray, or it'll be on Netflix or whatever.
I mean, it's going to be interesting when like cinema kind of refires back up again properly, to see how the release windows have changed, have the decisions changed in the last year, because you think the last one that got released properly was Onward, but not even it wasn't even that. The last one that we really saw was Skywalker, which was like from 2019 when it got released, and that got released on May the 4th, and that was like 5 months. But of course we haven't had a proper cinema release since then, because Onward didn't count.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if Rise of Skywalker counts, because we may have only gotten it because they were like, here, have content.
Yeah. So it's like, and Frozen, they pulled it forward 3 months in most places, other than over here we had to wait because of the Sky deal. But the last one, I mean, we're talking the last time we had a proper like movie wait was way back in was Toy Story 4, maybe? That was the last time we had to wait the proper amount of time, where it was like January last year it dropped on the Disney Plus, like 6 months afterwards. I mean, we talk, a lot's changed since then. So, and I mean, at the minute, cinemas here, they're all shut. We're in a lockdown for at least a few more months, and there's no cinemas out. France have just done the same thing. Everything is, the box office is not back to normal. I know everyone wanted to go into 2021 and get back, and everything was, it's like, this 2021 is still going to be a ropey year. Disney kind of giving themselves a little bit of scope with this whole thing with Premier Access, because I don't think they're going to keep delaying stuff. I don't think we're going to have that same problem and keep pushing stuff back to 2022, because I think they know that they've got a backlog. They're 2021, we are gonna get a lot more Premier Access stuff. You can see it coming, because we're not just gonna open the gates in May and all be allowed out and everyone's gonna flood in.
It might be years before we see another movie make $1 billion at the box office, even accounting for inflation and fun things like that. I got an email from my local theater. We're going to be open next Friday, so not the day that we're recording this, but the week after. I'm just like, good luck. But it was very interesting because their lineup of movies that they had available, it was very clearly targeted towards a specific audience. And it's like, this is the audience of people who don't think this is a real thing. This is an audience that even if they do think it's a real thing, they don't take it seriously. And it's just like, well, that strategy will probably work for them at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, over here we're talking at least Easter before they'll be able to reopen at the earliest. So I mean, even just like Raya and the Last Dragon, that can't be released in cinemas over here because they won't be open. That's just, so it becoming on this Premier Access means that Disney can kind of carry on with their scheduling and kind of keep pushing forward. And I'm kind of in some ways, if they release every movie of 2021, both systems, I'll make the decision either way. Maybe by like September, I'll be more inclined, go, oh yeah, we'll go. But yeah, right now it's a complete, we're literally being told we have to stay home. So nothing has changed. So it is going to be seeing how all that works out. Like I said, though, we had it was a bit of like I said, a strange week for news because obviously midweek everything kind of stopped. But before we go any further, I just want to briefly just mention our Patreon, where you can help support the podcast and the channel, and you can also kind of get access, like I said, to those movie club episodes a little bit earlier. Also, we had a vote on movies to see, and if you're at a certain tier as well, you can even suggest movies, because there's a couple of movies that we're going to be doing in February that have come from patrons as well. So I just want to go with some shout outs. First off to Sarah, who is our executive producer level. Huge thank you for all of her support and a few of her suggestions. I did actually watch Bolt that she wanted what we'll be doing next month.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah. Also a big thank you to Andrew, Jamie, Jacob, Chris, Darren, The Juice, Lauren, and What's on Netflix, all from Patreon. While on YouTube, I'd also like to say a big thank you to Dawn, David, The Bad Dog Gamer, Martin, Adam, Jeremy, and also Joshua. So again, huge thank you to all of the support for all of that there. Let's now, this week, again, The Mandalorian jumped into the second spot on the Nielsen chart. Again, as we were, I think that was the penultimate episode of The Mandalorian was about to drop. So kind of continued to push up the charts on the trending, which is always good. And I'm sure next week it will be hitting number one for the finale, because I'm sure a lot of people checked that one out and probably checked it out a couple of times as well.
And there was not any major competition in terms of like super important episodes that weren't The Mandalorian that week.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, like the Office is at the top at the minute, because back in December, a lot of people were watching it before it was leaving Netflix to go to Peacock. So that was why that one had jumped back up. So I can suspect we will see Disney Plus in the Nielsen charts for probably most of the year with all the Marvel stuff. And I suspect, we'll see Soul and stuff drop in there. But it's just nice to see Disney have got that one in there, because it's absolutely dominated by Netflix. Netflix completely just dominate the what people are watching. HBO Max and Hulu and stuff just don't seem to ever get a crack near what the Netflix shows are putting out. And they even reflected in the most pirated shows of the year from 2020. The Mandalorian was number one, and not a single show from Netflix was in the top 10. It's just kind of, yeah.
It's interesting because you can read that a number of different ways. You can read it as there's no interest, but you can also read it as Netflix has made it so easy that it's not even worth pirating their shows. You have a Netflix subscription, you can watch Stranger Things and Tiger King and Queen's Gambit and all that, and you don't need to pirate it. And
obviously Netflix is I think that Netflix is available in more. It's available in more countries, and those originals available everywhere. Whereas I think with The Mandalorian, and I am going to say this straight off, especially with season 1, was a lot. It wasn't out here in the UK. It wasn't out here till March. So as far as like Brits were concerned, we'd gone 5 months without having access to the Mandalorian. Now I know from my friends, they all watched it. So somehow, I mean, I watched it, but I watched it through Disney Plus. So I got around it, but I watched it through Disney Plus and paid the
But
money.
it's also worth pointing out you did circumvent it, but it was a heck of a trial to get that to work.
Yes, it was a heck of a way of doing it through VPNs and stuff and all the rest of it. But I got it to work. Since March, didn't have to worry about any of that because it's great. I can just turn the TV on and it's there. But I know a lot of my friends watched it. It was like, I'm going to go, and I mentioned to a couple of like, use VPN. Like, no, like, okay, that's fine. And it's that thing of, I know people were doing it because Disney made it not available. And I know some people are like, well, it's still illegal. It's like, yeah, it is. But Disney made a decision at that point to not launch globally. And that comes with risks. And there are still countries in the world that do not have Disney Plus. Latin America only recently launched. The whole of Africa is not available. There's still places in Eastern Europe it's not available. There's whole places in the Middle East, in Asia that it's not. So therefore, it still makes it that people are going to want to get hold of it. Because if you want to watch it and it's not available on any other networks and everyone's talking about it online, because people are, it incentivizes people to do it. And also there is another thing that some people now are going, I'm not subscribing to all these different networks. And that's a whole other, to me, there's like two different issues going on. You've got the access, and I fall into that thing of, if a company will not make the content available to you legally, you're then encouraging people to go after it illegally. That's the way I look at it. Is if you can't buy it, if you make it nice and easy for people to get, they will do it. Most people will do it that way. If you put it, if you make it available easily and cheaply, people will do it. But if you don't give them that option, kind of you've opened it all up. Rather than, oh yeah, you can wait 6 months for it. That's not.
I'm always reminded of way back in the day when Game of Thrones was brand new. That first season, it was not available anywhere except on HBO.
Yeah.
There was no HBO Max. There was no HBO Go. You couldn't buy it on iTunes or Amazon or any of those. And people were literally begging HBO, put this on iTunes. Let us buy it. We will give you money. Let us buy it. And HBO wouldn't. And then unsurprisingly, at the end of the year, Game of Thrones was the most pirated show. And it was for several seasons.
Yeah, literally this year was the first year that it wasn't, because there was no Game of Thrones. That was why it wasn't number one. That's why Mandalorian
that last season, man, jeez.
See, I never got past halfway through season 2, so I was I
save yourself. Just don't bother.
There was that thing of Lockdown 1 and Lockdown 2 where I thought maybe I should start watching it, and I'm in Lockdown 3. No.
Yeah, not to tangent too much. The simple fact that Game of Thrones ended right before lockdown, not right before, but you know, lockdown should have been prime. Let's rewatch Game of Thrones, and nobody was. I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, it's I think again, it's that's to me is the big issue. I mean, I remember way back when I was like shows like Smallville. This is back when DC had like one show, and we over here in the UK had to wait like 9 to 10 months for the season to start. Then they would, and I remember, being, and it was like, you just streamed it or downloaded it, because it was like all your friends and stuff, and everyone's talking about it and going, well, hold on, you want me to wait 10 months? Well, it wasn't even that. By the time the finale was coming on TV over here, it'd been like nearly 18 months. It's like, those days luckily nearly seem to have gone. But that's one issue. But then you've got the other issue of how many people want to subscribe to platforms. Especially now, if you're in the US and you're looking at all these different shows, you want to watch, Star Trek, you've got to have CBS All Access. If you want to watch the Wolf show on HBO Max, or if you want to watch The Mandalorian, you've got to have Disney Plus. And then if you want to watch Queen's Gambit, you've got to have Netflix. And so people are going, I'm not subscribing to all these networks, and so they're going that way. There is that other counter argument of most people, I would say, well, maybe you just subscribe to HBO Max when you want to watch all of them, or you after Discovery.
That's my approach.
Yeah.
I finished season 3 of Discovery. I don't need the CBS All Access anymore. I'll either hold on to that money or I will subscribe to a different one.
Yeah. And I think people are that's the benefit of this new system, but it also shows you why like Disney Plus, and people are still moaning about the weekly release. It's like this is why, because WandaVision is more likely to get you for at least 2 months if you're a Marvel fan than if you could do it all at once. People are going, well, the binge network it's been, yeah, but Netflix is realizing now that this binge system, it can destroy a show in 2 weeks because it's all gone. And yeah, and they've had this like built up demand and stuff, but ultimately, the weekly release helps keep people, stops the churn rate. It's like now, if we had all WandaVision next week, there'd be a load of people subscribed for a month and then they won't come back in February. And then Falcon comes in March and then they'll do the same. And then so doing it the way they do it, they'll manage to keep you as a subscriber probably the most of the year, because you're going to keep doing that. If you want to wait, you can wait. Personally, I feel like like Disney Plus is in a different category because of the price compared to like HBO Max. I'll be honest, like I watch a few HBO shows and stuff because they're on Sky over here, but would I pay £15 a month for it? I don't know. It's that tricky line of would I just, but I know I would, but I would have definitely, if I was in the US, I'd have jumped in to get Wonder Woman for a month and probably then been like, okay, what else is coming up? Do I need it or not? But I would have been someone that would have jumped in, watched one. I'm literally waiting for Wonder Woman to drop onto premium video on demand because they released it in cinemas like 3 days before they closed them all. So it's like I want to watch Wonder Woman, and I'm going to pay the premium rental to watch it because I know there's been a lot of stick about it, but I haven't seen anything like proper superhero stuff for ages. I've that's brand new, and I'm like, yeah, I'll rent it because it's something that I would have gone normally and seen it. But that's the difference. So I do think there is that issue with this whole situation of everyone's got different reasons. It's not right. It's not. There's not an excuse for it. It's time for your cat's debut.
Yeah. It's the rare audible appearance of the cat.
Yeah, all you can hear is my dog snoring. But it is. Yeah, it's not my tummy rumbling. But yeah, no, it is. I think just one of those situations of there's always going to be there, and I think there will be a rise in it as more and more streaming networks keep opening up, and people are unwilling to pay for them all.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this literally since our first podcast too. Where it's like there are a lot of networks. There are more networks coming down the pike, and yeah, it's replacing TV in that sense. But at least consumers at the moment have the choice. You can go, all right, I'll do HBO Max for a month, and I'll watch Wonder Woman, and I'll check out the new Looney Tunes show. I'll check that out, and I'll check out Westworld while I'm there, and maybe I'll watch like Sopranos because I never watched Sopranos. I haven't. Just saying, someone else would.
We tried watching it in the lockdown, and we didn't get more than like 2 episodes into
it. I would say it was groundbreaking at the time. It set a lot of the trends. But man, it meandered at times. It was very slow paced. But in any event, it's there if you want to watch it on HBO Max. And then the month is up, or 2 months, or however many, and you go over, all right, I'm going to get caught up on what's over on Peacock, and then I'm going to finish that up, and I'm going to go get caught up on CBS All Access, and
yeah, I mean,
just jump between them.
The one I probably use Amazon the least. Amazon, because it always comes up as like being one of the most subscribed networks, and it's like, yeah, but if you took away the Prime delivery, how many people would actually be subbed to video?
Amazon Prime sits on its own little pedestal, because I agree with you on that. Most people have Prime Video as a bonus to having the free shipping and the bonuses for using Amazon. And then you can also have Man in the High Castle or whatever. The Expanse. The Expanse is a really good one, but it's like, would I subscribe just for The Expanse? Probably not.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I never really went on there because my wife watches Outlander, and I watched the first season of Picard on it, or most of the season, but yeah, it's not been a huge amount on there. But I've had to say to people like, oh, it's on Amazon Video. Well, I haven't got Amazon Video. Have you got Prime? Yeah, I said, you've got it. They didn't realize. I mean, it kind of comes down to this whole thing as well of like, a friend of mine, she got 6 months free Disney Plus, and they're like, oh, I can get it. And I said, like, she goes, oh, what about her nephew, or not a nephew, her son? And I'm like, well, 4 of you can watch it at the same time. I said, so in theory, both of your kids with their kids could watch it, and all of you could all go under one subscription. And she's like, oh, that's great. It's like, and that was like, you're sort of looking at going, to me, that's where this whole, I know they don't want you doing this, like the password sharing and all the rest of it, but it's like, that's, to me, like, that's a much better way of just sort of doing it. If you can't afford it, maybe split it with a friend. That's how I would, if you get to that thing of like, well, you do Paramount and I do Disney Plus and we swap, and that's, that's a way of getting around it much more than kind of sort of going down the piracy route, because at least that way they are getting the money, and you're kind of using a loophole to get around it. And let's be honest, we've all, I mean, how many of us actually realistically share our accounts with our parents or our brothers and sisters and stuff? I know, and it's like, it's what people do, isn't it? You just kind of, it's
So
what a lot of people do.
from a more practical perspective, like I know my sister is currently living with my parents, and she pays for the HBO Max subscription. They pay for the Netflix subscription.
Yeah.
It's all under one roof. It's still technically password sharing, but they're all just kind of mixing it up together there.
Well, it's not password sharing if you've logged in on their telly. That's
fair, but it's still in that same area of like, oh, I recorded Darkwing Duck on the VHS last week, and then bringing it in and letting a friend take the video home or whatever. You probably wouldn't admit it on official channels if you were doing that, but similarly though, if you do live in a household where people can pay their own way, splitting the cost of the premium rentals on Disney Plus is, $30 is a lot for one person to eat, but you split it up with 3 people, that's $10 a head. Then you're getting much more reasonable at that point.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing, isn't it? Of, it's like with the whole like password sharing thing, and like ultimately they're all right in trying to clamp down on it. And what the main thing they're doing is trying to clamp down on, for example, say I take out a subscription, and then I then go, right, I've got 3 other people could use it. I can sell it on to 3 other people at like $2 a piece, and that's what they, that's what they're trying to clamp down on, or people selling it on, you buy a subscription and you sell it on to 4 people and you make a profit, kind of thing. That was where, what people were doing. I can kind of get it as well, like with maybe like, you can see how they could maybe do it with your location, like if you're too far apart of like going, okay. But there again, a lot of people then say, well, my kids at college and they've got access to it, and it's like, well, it's like, and there's so much gray area, and I think they've got to kind of work it out of how ultimately, that's why they have limits. 4 people streaming at once for Disney Plus, 7 devices, 10 devices, 7 accounts. So therefore it's like, if you've got a family of 5 and they've all got a device and you've got a television, you're going to be, you're like, you can't really give it to another family because you're going to push out your limit. If you can only have 2 people streaming at once, you can't give it out to too many people because you're going to have. So that's they have brought these things in to kind of pull it back a bit. Because if it was just a free for all and you've got 150 people all logged into one account watching at once, it makes sense why they've done it.
Yeah, well, they have to balance practicality with reality. I mean, that's what it comes down to. How many concurrent streams can we have that seems reasonable for the average household versus if we give too many streams, then your $7 account is earning you $15 a month off of.
Well, I remember when Disney Plus launched and people were going, well, we've got 9 of us in our house. We all can't watch at once on our different devices. And it's like, yeah, but that's it's like, okay, you're going to need 2 subscriptions. If all 9 of you are all watching The Mandalorian at the same time in different rooms, it's like, yeah, but it's like that kind of thing. Like, yeah, but how many people does that realistically affect compared to the normal size household? They've picked out those numbers for a reason, because that's what they've got. The reality of if you've got all 9 of your children all watching Disney Plus on different devices, all watching different things, then you're getting your money's worth. But there is those kind of limits in place. I mean, I don't know if I've actually ever seen anyone ever even post an image of them having the limit come up, any warning or anything like that. I've never heard about anyone ever having this come up. But
I suspect if it did came up, it would be in a situation where your account was hacked or something like that.
yeah, I mean, I just know myself of like, I have, I access Disney Plus on my laptop to get into look in there and look around it. I've got the app installed on my Skybox. I've got the app installed on my TV, and I've got the app installed on I had it on my own Xbox and PlayStations, and I had it on my phone. And I was like, my brother goes, well, no, I'm already up to like 6 or 7 devices anyway. So like, if you and your kids go on it, it's gonna push me up. And I'm like, that was the thing for me. Like, logistically, I go, no, I'm already I'm already 3/4 of the way through my device list. Oh yeah, I don't need it on all of the different ones, but when does it stop? We don't know. And you kind of get to this thing of like, you don't need it on all those different devices. Well, I bought a new television, so my Xbox, doesn't seem to be a way of going in there and taking your devices off like you can on other platforms. So over the last year, I had it on the PlayStation 4, and then I had it on the Xbox One. I haven't put it on the new consoles because I don't need it. I bought a new television, and I put it on there. So suddenly then that's 2 televisions out of your 10. Things like that, which is like, you can't take them off, which is I don't know how it works.
Oh, there is a mass remove
Yeah.
button at least, but there is not a remove the Xbox or disable it on this particular tablet or anything like that. I'm kind of thinking, like, how many devices would I need to hit the limit? Because it's just me. No one else is on my account at all. Be like, I would have to buy an Xbox Series X, an Xbox One, a PlayStation 4, and a PlayStation 5, like smart computers, tablet. I would have to get a couple more tablets or something like that.
Yeah, well, if I look at it just literally on the last 12 months, so I had it on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So I upgraded both those consoles to the Series X and the PS5. So that's 4 of my. I had a television. I then brought a new television. So that's 6. I then had my phone, my iPad, and my laptop, and then my phone, and my Sky Q box. That's 10. I'm at 10 just on. So if you can't take them off, I don't know how it works or what it does, but this is where I was sort of thinking, well, I'm actually getting like, I'm not using at least 5 of those devices anymore, but how long do they register? I don't know. Don't even know if it's an issue, but there was that feeling going, and that's just me, just living my life of upgrading, equipment as and when, but you know that you've got that limit. It's very, I've never seen anybody ever say that they've had a problem, but there is that issue. I would hope you would think that Disney Plus, the app, would recognize that this device hasn't been activated in a year, that it shouldn't, but I don't really have that much faith in the app being that smart.
Generally speaking, app designers won't do that. There's too many variables.
Yeah.
They can't know. I haven't logged in on my PlayStation 4 in 8 months, but that's because I've been using the Switch instead of the PlayStation. Yeah. So I just haven't turned it on. And then you switch back to the PlayStation because Ghost of Tsushima or something comes out, something you wanted to play on the PlayStation, and you log into Disney Plus. It's like, well, you haven't used this in 8 months, so go through the entire login procedure again, which, I mean, admittedly is not exactly complicated, but still it can be annoying to, like, I was ready to watch a movie and now I have to get up and I have to go to my computer and go to like the Disney Plus link account, whatever. And just like, it's those little tiny annoyances that really get to people.
Yes. We had it on our TV the other day on the BBC. It came up and goes, please log in, like, go to this website. And then we get on Amazon, you like, and I had that really annoying thing on the laptop the other day where it did the thing of it logged me out of everything. So you had to log back in. Oh no! But it's it is just the way it is. But all this kind of way of all has an impact eventually. But nevertheless, let's have a quick look at the trending list before we head off. So here we go. So At the bottom, we have Horton Hears a Who, Avengers Endgame, Toy Story 4, Mulan, Onward, Jessie, Frozen, Frozen 2, Moana, The Clone Wars, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, Legends. Obviously, that's jumped quite a bit up. The Simpsons, The Mandalorian, and so on. I think that looks to be like something like 15 rather than the full 25.
I have a very different list on my.
Well, that's what's coming up on the US.
Are you sure it didn't cut off after Horton Hears a Who? Because I've got things like Zootopia, Toy Story.
Yeah,
Burrow,
it does,
Tangled.
because this happens quite a few times where I'll only get like the 15 on my phone. I started doing that recently.
Inside Out is hit the list. I wonder if a lot of people watch Soul and are like,
yeah, oh yeah. See, here on the laptop, we've then got, like, after Horton Hears Who, we've got Zootopia, Toy Story, Burrow, Tangled, Incredibles 2, Coco, Once Upon a Time, Star Wars Rebels, Bluey, and Inside Out. Yeah, Inside Out had a bit of a bump after Soul. I think a lot of people were like, oh, this reminds me of Inside Out, so let's watch that.
I think a lot of people were like, my kids were really bored of Soul, so we turned on the one that they liked more, which is not, if you've seen our review episode, you know that we loved Soul, but
yeah,
I don't think too many kids are gonna find it quite as engaging as most other Pixar movies.
Yeah, I don't know, like, the long-term life in it, but I mean, people are still enjoying Soul, which is nice. Also, again, people kind of jumping back into Rebels by the looks of it.
I'm wondering how many people jumped into Rebels to find out more about the Darksaber, and how many lore nerds jumped in there to be like, but Sabine gave the Darksaber to oh man, totally blanking on her name right now. Bo-Katan, thank you.
There we go.
To Starbuck. No, she totally gave it to her in the Rebels episode. I wonder how many people went back to verify that, or who might be new to the Darksaber went back and saw those episodes.
Yeah, it should be fun to see how. It was just funny how I just remember, like, I think it was like last week with the trending chart of just Christmas just boomed. This is like, because the few weeks running up to Christmas, we were getting to the point where like half the top trending was Christmas movies, and like Christmas Day done, every Christmas movie just piled out of the chart. I don't know, and I always find it strange with Christmas, because I always think, like, Christmas is kind of like Christmas to New Year's Day. That's kind of like your Christmas period, and like everyone gets to like Boxing Day and it's like, oh, I'm done with Christmas now. I'm bored of it. I've watched all the movies and all and again, you saw it with the trending of just like everyone just like no, that would be the week that you would normally watch it, but everyone now does the opposite, where they watch all the Christmas stuff running up to it, and in that week between Christmas and New Year, everyone like, nah, we've had enough of this.
There's only 330 something days until Christmas, guys. You got to get into the spirit. Just saying.
Yeah, but it shows you that repeat value of what Disney Plus has. Of the minute the Christmas movies are on, the kids went straight back to their favorite movies.
And the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Yeah, it's funny. Puppy Dog Powers is not in there as well. Right. On that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode where we'll be talking about WandaVision. And on that, I guess, thank you very much for joining us. Again, you can find us on all the different audio platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Google, etc. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well, and you can also join our Facebook group as well, which has got over 150,000 members. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys soon. Later.